live and local. This is Fox 7 Austin News at 9.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with developing news out of Round Rock, where police say a man's body was found earlier this evening.
We're told the body was discovered in a pond near Vizcaya Parkway and University Boulevard. According to police, a nearby resident called in about the body just before 5 o'clock tonight. Police do not suspect foul play. The victim's age and identity have not been released, and police say there is no danger to the public. Meanwhile, Austin police need your help to figure out what happened to a California man found dead in Shoal Creek Friday morning.
48-year-old Randy Lexvold was in town for his daughter's swim meet, but police say his family has no idea how or why he ended up in the water under the West 6th Street Bridge.
Fox 7 Austin's Jennifer Kendall has the latest on the investigation.
48-year-old Randy Lexvold traveled across several states to cheer on his daughter at the USA Junior National Swimming Championships on the UT campus.
So he was traveling alone. He did travel to Austin by himself to see his daughter's meet. I believe he was possibly maybe going to go meet some acquaintances that he had.
Lexvold never made it home Friday morning. His body was discovered in Shoal Creek, which was running higher from overnight rain. Investigators mapped the scene under the West 6th Street Bridge, noting the soggy earth and nearby brush, possible clues to what could have happened.
Did he step over the edge into, where there's some foliage there at that area, maybe to go to the bathroom? Who knows, right? Any number of reasons. And then slip and then fell down into the creek. Or was he walking along the actual bridge, somehow lost his balance and went over?
Randy's injuries lead police to believe his death was an accident, but they can't be sure. One thing detectives have ruled out: robbery. Randy still had all of his belongings with him, as far as officers could tell. His last known location, thanks to his wife's online search of his credit card records, was the rooftop on 6th, around 10:30 Thursday night. That's just under 1 mile from where he was discovered, and what happened in between the two locations has detectives puzzled.
But we're very interested to see if anyone had any contact with him, maybe had some video of him that could include rideshare, some of the bars in the area, to see if we can find out if he was by himself. Did he appear intoxicated? Was he walking with anyone?
Austin police have released these photos of Randy with hopes someone remembers having seen him between 1:30 and 8 Friday morning. They say he was wearing a black jacket, black Pink Floyd t-shirt, Gap jeans, and blue Merrell tennis shoes.
No one in the family knows what happens. They're curious to know, as we are, trying to figure out what exactly happened up until that time. And that's what we're trying to reconstruct.
Nearby Halo surveillance cameras provided no help, as police say they were facing the wrong way Friday morning. Neither has Lexvold's locked cell phone.
Apple's gone to great lengths to keep people from being able to access the phone, and they've been very successful. So, in this case, when it would help the family and such, and help us figure out what happened, we're not able to get in.
Which is why Austin police have asked 6th Street businesses and the public for help.
As Jennifer Kendall reporting, also police say the medical examiner has not made a cause of death determination yet and will likely not do so until the investigation is complete. Toxicology results could take up to 90 days. Now, the detective we spoke with says Randy's death is not linked to any other cases in the area. A South Austin woman comes face to face with a man who broke into her home, stealing precious items just a few weeks before Christmas.
But what the man didn't realize is he was caught on camera several times. Fox 7 Austin's Destiny Chance joins us in studio with the details. Destiny.
Hey, Mike and Rebecca, this surveillance video from inside Aaron Madrano and Tim Ganstead's home shows a burglar stuffing stolen items inside a pillowcase and throwing it over his back as he walks away. The video, recorded on December 7th, looks like a scene out of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But folks who have things taken from them say they feel they've lost so much more.
I automatically felt, you have like the intuition that something might be wrong.
Erin Medrano says talking about what happened on Friday, December 7th, twists her stomach into knots. Still shaken up from the situation, she asked for Fox 7 Austin to not show her face. She was returning home from work to check on her dogs when she felt something was off.
There was this guy walking down the sidewalk right there actually with a hoodie, and he looked at me really wrong. Just thought he looked suspicious. And he wouldn't stop staring at me.
Erin was turning into her neighborhood, and as she slowed down, this man continued to stare. Feeling uneasy, she parked her car in her driveway and saw this. Erin says her front door was completely knocked off its hinges, and the house was a mess. All the lights were turned on, and one of her dogs was locked outside. The other had went to work with her earlier that day. Instead of calling police first, she frantically dialed her husband, Tim Ganstead. Shortly after, her heart dropped again.
The guy was coming back this way and stopped right there and stared me down again. And I mean, at that point, I knew it was him, but what could I say?
So instead of saying something, she picked up her phone and captured this photo of him before he came closer, then eventually walked away. She hadn't seen their indoor camera footage yet, but after watching it, she says it confirmed her gut feeling that this was the man responsible for the crime. Erin says the man is Hispanic, 5'8" to 5'10" with a broad build. She says his head is either shaved or bald, and he has a dark goatee. Erin says the Austin Police Department told her that there hasn't been anything like this reported in the area. So she went on Nextdoor to do some research of her own. She connected with a woman named Chelsea Prush, whose home was broken into on October 17th, and her cameras too caught him in the act. She lives less than a mile and a half away from Erin and her husband, and the crimes happened around the same time. They both believe this is the same man, and although some items can't be replaced,
My husband's mom had given him these wedding bands that used to belong to her husband. That's probably the one thing that really bothered us.
the victims just want the person responsible to be arrested.
Now, Peter Gonzalez, who uses Nextdoor, sent us this video. You can see that a man is coming up to Gonzalez's family home back in June, signaling them to let him inside. He eventually turned around and left. Peter says he looks exactly like the man who broke into Erin, Tim, and Chelsea's homes, and they agree. I reached out to the Austin Police Department to ask if they can confirm this is the same man, and they haven't replied. But if you have any information, call APD.
Several Austin ISD schools may be closing. They say it's because the district, which is facing a multi-million-dollar deficit, is making budget cuts for the upcoming years. Fox 7 Austin Stephen Saravia joins us live from AISD headquarters in downtown Austin with more on that. Stephen.
AISD says this deficit is linked to both the drop in enrollment and the massive amount of money the district has to give the school. Now, right now, they're estimating 12 schools are impacted, and not all of them are going to close. Some of them are going to combine with other campuses. 12 AISD campuses are in the hot seat.
We will be having more dialogue and community conversation around what are the strategies we can take next year to realign budgets and resources, and also to address the deficit that we're facing in the school system.
Right now, the district is facing a multi-million-dollar deficit in their budget, estimated around $55 to $60 million, and cuts are needing to be made.
Some of the information here will change. We were basing this on what we know today, or what we've known for a few months, but this is going to change based on new information.
AISD is looking at all their schools and will be selecting 12 and either close their doors or combine them with other campuses. The district will be looking at each campus's enrollment, the condition of the building, and transportation for the students in the area.
It requires us to really do a deep sort of analytical review and look towards, establishing some goals about where we want to balance out, and also looking at boundaries in order to come up with a solution. And that analytic exercise is something that takes a little bit more time.
The district says they're facing this deficit due to two things: enrollment being down at about 6,000 students this year, and recapture, a state program where school districts like AISD give funds to help other school districts in the state.
This year we're going to send to the state, under recapture, send $670 million. And that equates to around keeping 40 cents of a dollar.
With the budget cuts, AISD is expecting several positions to be impacted, anywhere from 150 to 200.
That's not only teachers, that's administrative staff, that's clerical staff, classified staff, both professional and non-professional, as well as teachers as well.
This doesn't mean people will be left without a job.
So we have confidence that we will be able to shift our staff to where they're needed.
And while the budget cuts aren't final, the school district says they will be focusing on 3 major points moving forward.
One is about making sure that all our schools are moving to an exemplary level, higher level of performance. A second one is that we have all students reading on grade level by 3rd grade. And a third one is about paying teachers more. So making sure we're compensating teachers for the work that they do.
The budget isn't final until June, and during this time, the school district will be talking to the schools and people for feedback. And another thing which may impact the budget is the legislative session just around the corner. Back to you.
2 APD SWAT officers are on trial for a tasing incident earlier this year. They're accused of using force when the suspect was already complying with commands. Prosecutors say the officers also lied about what happened in their reports to justify the tasing. Fox 7 Austin's Casey Claiborne has the latest from court.
When Austin police officers were issued body-worn cameras last year, we knew they would be instrumental in police transparency. Well, case in point, this case. Body-worn cameras are a major factor. The officers reported one thing about what the suspect was doing when they tased him, but the video appears to show something very different. TV cameras are not allowed in the courtroom, so what you're seeing here are still images taken at the beginning of the trial on Tuesday when Austin police officers, now defendants, Robert Paff and Donald Petrides, pleaded not guilty to a number of grand jury indictments like tampering with evidence, tampering with a government record, aggravated perjury, and more. To recap, on February 16th of this year near 12th and Red River, a shooting was reported. When police officers arrived, there was a crowd of people at the scene. The responding officers, not sure if the shooting suspect was in the crowd, told everyone to get on the ground. That's when officers Paff and Petrides arrived in a patrol car, engaged 30-year-old Quentin Perkins, gave him commands, and eventually tased him. Perkins admits he was high on marijuana laced with PCP. As the trial continued Wednesday, some focus was put on what Perkins was arrested and charged with: failure to comply with a lawful order, a Class C misdemeanor, which he actually pleaded guilty to later. Perkins testified on Tuesday to doing that because he, quote, wanted to get back to work. In court Wednesday, Sergeant Richard Eagle took the stand. The jury watched Eagle's body cam footage showing both officers Paff and Petrides recounting the events minutes after the tasing. They claimed Perkins was on his feet, backing up into the darkness and not responding to their commands to get on the ground. By the way, Paff and Petrides hadn't been issued body cams yet because they typically worked SWAT, but one of the responding officers' body cams appears to show Perkins in a well-lit area on his knees with his hands in the air when the officers deployed the taser. Sergeant Eagle testified he was surprised when he saw the video. In their opening statements, defense attorneys claimed the scene was chaotic, and even though Perkins eventually dropped to his knees and put his hands up, that's not what the officers were telling him to do. Defense attorneys argued the tasing was justified. The state is also planning to show the jury how a taser works. Before the jury was brought in this afternoon, they had an officer in the courtroom actually deploying his taser onto a poster board. The trial is expected to last a few more days. The stakes are high for these officers. They're facing jail time. A jury will make the final call. At the Travis County Courthouse, Casey Claiborne, Fox 7 Austin News.